I want to thank you so much for joining in on this Uncharted journey with us. I'm so glad you're in your group tonight, and I just have such a heart of expectation of what God's going to do in us and through us in this season that we're calling Uncharted. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be looking at the life of Abraham and this whole idea of God calling Abraham out of everything that was known into the unknown, into something that was uncharted. And I want to read you out of Hebrews, where we see in Hebrews 11 this little snapshot of what God did in Abraham's life, which I think is a reflection of the types of things that God can do in our lives in this season. And so it says this: it says, "By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, he obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God." See, what we see with Abraham is God called him to leave everything that was comfortable, everything that was known, and really, we would say, to leave his comfort zone, which is never, ever easy. These moments are difficult, and these moments where God takes us out of our comfort zone, calls us to something new, always lead to transformation. What we see with Abraham, as we look at the context of all that's going on, of some of the language that's used, is we see this idea that the place where he was, his father's family, his family of origin, the place that God called him out of was a place of all kinds of idolatry, all kinds of false gods. And God is calling Abraham to leave everything that he knows, to leave his comfort zone, something that can be terrifying. But we see this principle that when we step out into the new, it opens the door for transformation. As God is delivering Abraham from this culture of idolatry, really kind of going against the flow of what was culturally normative. It's the same kind of thing that I believe God wants to do in our lives even now. That to call us out of our comfort zone, call us to a place that we've never been before, something that is uncomfortable in some ways because he wants to change us. So what we saw this week, we talked about how this calling that of God on Abraham's life, it's this incredibly powerful moment we see in Genesis where God was inviting Abraham to join in on his big story. It says, "The Lord had said to Abram, 'Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you.'" This is this calling moment that we see recapped in Hebrews 11. And then here's these promises. There's these promises where we see that God is inviting Abraham into his plan. He says, "I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." What we see there, that last little phrase, is this moment looking into the future where through Abraham's line, his descendants, that would ultimately come Jesus, through whom all peoples on earth were blessed. It says, "So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out for Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there." So what we see is this principle of this calling in Abraham's life, where God calls him to leave his comfort zone, everything that he had known, this sort of calling that leads to transformation, going against what had been normal for him, going against the norm of what was culturally acceptable into this new thing where God had something new, where he was going to change him, where God was inviting him into his story to play a meaningful role. You know, as I reflect on Claire and my journey over the years, there's been a handful of times where God has called us like this to take a step into the unknown, a big step that was out of our comfort zone, a step that felt scary, a step that felt bigger than we were up for. And in each one of these occasions, each time, this led to the greatest season of growth in our lives to that point. And each time we got to play an increasingly significant part in God's work and God's story. I think 18 years ago, when God called us to start this church, we were in Colorado at the time, and life was very, very comfortable. And God called us to leave something very comfortable, to come here and start all over where we knew pretty much no one, and just start meeting in our living room. And we didn't know what was going to all happen, and we didn't know what step number 2 and 3 and 4. It really was an uncharted step for us. I think about 7 years ago, and when we were in an initiative sort of like this one, the Elevate initiative, where God really called Claire and I to make some radical changes in our lifestyle so that we could be more generous than we'd ever been before. And I think about 4 years ago, and God called us to adopt the 3 boys. And each of these moments, God was calling us out of the comfortable into something that seemed scary. And each moment, it led to the greatest season of growth and life change we'd ever experienced in our lives to that point. And in each time, we were able to play a bigger, more significant role in God's story of His activity in us and through us and around us than we'd ever been able to do before. So guys, I just want to encourage you to fully engage this uncharted journey. Ask God to take you to a new place, even if it feels uncomfortable. Ask Him to change you and to grow you in this season. And celebrate, steer in to this fact, celebrate the fact that God is inviting us to play a meaningful part in His story at this place and time. Guys, I love you so much. Check out this story of another family at LifeChurch.
I'm born and raised in Reno, Nevada. I'm a local. It seems like as I meet church people, it seems to be a little less and less common.
So I grew up in Southern Indiana, and I was born Catholic. All of my family was Catholic.
As a kid, my parents would always pray with us at night. But we never were church goers. I don't know what that really looked like. And then this neighbor brought us to church, and we were like, oh, this is weird. They have like wild, fun music. This is kind of cool.
So when I went away to college, in Savannah, Georgia, I met my husband, Ryan, and we both were going to this church that was very different from what I was used to, but very similar to what Ryan was used to.
I had met Whitney, partially seeing her there at church, and then just happenstance that my roommate was dating her roommate. And so we met each other and dated through college, and I knew I wanted to move back to Reno, so I proposed and moved back here, and she's decided to follow me out.
I was happy to go wherever. So love my family, but I moved across the United States and moved to Reno and made it home. And when we were kind of getting settled, we started looking for a church together that was kind of our church, our place. We came across LifeChurch.
And there we were in the Damani Ranch High School. It felt right. It was like, this is where God is calling us. And we don't know what, our future looks like at that point, family or anything, but this is where we're supposed to be.
So as we got more and more plugged in with LifeChurch, we kind of had this thing where we were like, we're going to just start kind of saying yes. And the cool thing was Lydia started asking things of us. And so we started saying yes to them. And all of a sudden we got a phone call that was like, hey, will you guys, would you be willing to co-lead a life group? And we're like, wait, we thought we were doing good to attend a life group online, but you know what? We don't have a reason not to. And just trusting in the Lord wherever He's taking us and saying yes. So we said yes, we would try it and see what happens. And we started co-leading with the Rhodas, and it's been a great friendship that we've grown together in. And then through that experience, we ended up having a second little baby girl. And so, yeah, we just, like, our family has grown in our home, but our family with our friendships, with our life groups and just different connections and people that we've met have just grown as well and just created our own family.
So we were going to LifeChurch when they were in the Damani Theater, and they began their Elevate initiative. Being there and still going to church and seeing what good stewards they were with our contributions, with the church, and how it went from meeting in a high school auditorium to this prominent campus in South Reno is incredible. And I'm so excited to be plugged into the church and being able to be a part of this next phase, and knowing that what God did before, He's going to even do again in a bigger way, and the impact that has for South Reno, for all of Reno, is incredible. So I'm really excited as a family and personally to see where God leads us. It's so easy to know the principles and know what's required of us from the Word, but I'm excited to go deeper and look at what that really means to invest in what the Bible calls us to do. And I know, based on what God's done in our past, that He's going to take care of us in our future. And I'm excited to see what that looks like.